Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Marketing Your Biggest Asset, You. I'm Jenny Olvera, and I will be hosting today's session. We have a few housekeeping items to go over before we start. Today's session is being recorded, and we will email the recording to everyone on today's call. Our presenters will pause for questions after each topic. You may enter your questions to all panelists via the chat panel at any time, and they will answer your questions when available. We will save verbal questions to the end of the presentation, and I can help to unmute you if needed. Please remember to keep your line muted when not speaking to eliminate any feedback. We don't anticipate any issues, but if we happen upon a technical glitch and the session ends, please try logging back into the session. To kick things off, I'll pass things over to Billy to get us started.
All right, thank you, Jenny. Thanks everybody for attending today. I think we've got a good session here and a lot of good information. With that, I'm Billy Lowry. I'm the Vice President of Land for P2. I have with me Tracy Mizell, who's our Senior Manager and runs our iLandman operations, and our guest speaker, Dr. Amanda Rico, who has a wealth of knowledge in the oil and gas space around recruiting, placement, career development, and is here to share some other information with everybody today. So with that, I'll hand it over to Amanda.
Awesome. Thanks, Billy. And thanks everybody for having me. Tracy, Billy, Jenny, all of you guys have been really supportive, and it's been really exciting to see, I think, how people are starting to figure out how to help each other during this downturn. It's so unprecedented, and it's just created so many unique challenges that we weren't ready for. I don't think anybody was ready for the span of releases that have been happening of these global companies. And like we were chatting about yesterday, Tracy and Billy, a lot of people have never had to go hunting for jobs before. This is actually, not all that typical in oil and gas to have to hunt so hard. There's usually, plenty of positions available. So yeah, I'm really glad to be here today talking about some career solutions, resume building, social media optimization, specifically for land professionals. My examples are for land professionals, but this applies to, a lot of oil and gas positions as well. I think what's unique about, landmen is just the sheer amount of transferable skills that they have and how those skills kind of play into either staying in oil and gas or shifting out or whatever they want to do. It's kind of a jack of all trades in many ways. So yeah, I am Amanda Rico. I'm the owner of my business, Rico Editorial Services. Thank you. Here's my face. Right, so I specialize in resume building, editing, and career solutions for senior and executive level professionals for the most part. A lot of my background has been also in working with students. I have my doctorate from Texas A&M, BA and MA from the University of Oklahoma, and I've taught extensively at both those universities. So, and I've taught resume writing from A to Z, basically from the university level and academia to working with clients. And 95% of the clients I work with are in the oil, gas, and energy industries, and that's where I like to stay. I like to stick with what I excel at and with the people that I like. So oil, gas, and energy pros are definitely fun to chat with, and I always love learning more. Yeah, so this is 13 years of experience. Now we're in 2021, so 14 years of experience, I guess. Yeah, I've also worked with TEDx speakers, healthcare execs and stuff, but like I said, 95% is oil, gas, and energy. Yep, I'm a columnist as well for the Houston Business Journal and Oil Woman magazine. Really excited to be working with both of those organizations. So yeah, go ahead and we'll get into the seminar here. Right, so I like to call this a little bit this be kind of a mini masterclass. Just a little brief overview of some best practices. And I always like to start by saying that your resume and LinkedIn are tools. They're not a magic lamp. I'll have some people who will ask, oh, well, what's your placement rate? And I always tell them, oh, I'm not a recruiter, so I don't know. I do know that 80% of the people that I work with land a job in 6 months. So that's, in terms of data and things like that, that's usually where I go to. But it's important to bear in mind that your resume, LinkedIn, cover letter, all these materials are only part of a much larger puzzle. And this is why LinkedIn is so important to talk about in terms of networking and things like that. So yeah, we're going to chat about social media, building a standout LinkedIn profile, thinking about your audience. This is something that is such low-hanging fruit whenever we think about a resume, but sometimes it just gets lost in the whole bustle of trying to update things and, you know, saying, well, I've done this and this and this and this, and I want to put it all in the resume, even if it's not targeted to a specific position. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, some requirements, and then career changing details, especially for land professionals. A lot of you guys will shift into technical sales or real estate or contract management, things like that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So, right, so who's your audience? Got to keep this in mind, guys. Have to think like the hiring manager that's looking at your resume. If you were to hand your resume to a colleague or a friend, would they be able to understand and be impressed by what's on that resume? It's important to start with this idea in mind rather than just starting with, okay, I need to put absolutely everything that I know and have done for the past 20 plus years on a document, right? So it's important to keep in mind that your resume is going to have to pass three main audiences. Okay, so we got gatekeepers at the outset, you know, HR secretaries, administrative assistants who are receiving your email with your resume or going into, you know, their tracking systems to kind of figure out who's the right applicant for these things. It depends on the size of the company. There are plenty of smaller level companies that do not use tracking systems. You will just email it directly to, you know, a receptionist or something like that, and then they'll get it into the hands of the right person. And this is, of course, ideal. This is what we want. We want to get that resume into the decision maker's hands as quickly as possible. So it's just important to keep in mind that if you're applying to a lot of these big level companies like Shell or Halliburton or Kinder Morgan, or that it's going to go through a tracking system. So it's important to make sure that that document will scan correctly. And that's where we go to the second set of eyes, right? Computer scanning systems. For those of you who follow me, you know that I talk about ATS, which are applicant tracking systems. So there are hundreds of them, honestly. I hear people say all the time, well, will it pass the ATS? There's not just one. It's not just one blanket system. There are tons of different systems, and many of these systems are very old, very, very old, very antiquated. Which is why whenever I work with clients, I always send them a docx and a PDF. So two file formats, so that you have a fixed document in the PDF, but you also have a docx that will process better through the tracking systems. These tracking systems primarily want TXT format. That is how old and antiquated they are. So they like to process only text. When you start adding graphics and text boxes and charts and all this other craziness, they get confused. They have no idea how to read that. So it's important to keep these things in mind too. And then of course your third audience will be the decision maker. And like I said, we want to get that resume into the hands of a decision maker as quickly as possible. All right. Okay. So some basic resume requirements, just to make sure that your resume is highly scannable, that it's complying with the newest cutting edge, you know, kind of requests or requirements from recruiters. So white space and margins. Over 2020, recruiters started telling me over and over and over, please use narrow margins. Please use narrow margins. Before it was 1 inch all around, these like giant white space margins, but what ended up happening is that the recruiter's eyes, as they're trying to scan, will get drawn to the white space more than they will to the content. And so by narrowing out your margins, you're actually allowing them to process more information faster, which helps them out. And it also keeps your pages down, because ideally you don't want to go past 3 pages unless you're in the MENA region or something like that, the Middle East and Africa. Then you can kind of have some wiggle room on that. They don't mind long resumes. But if we are talking about, you know, kind of North America, you know, Canada, the US, 3 pages is ideal to stick to. And that's only if you're a 20+ year person. If you're a entry level, I'd want to keep you to 1 page. If you're 7 to 10 years over that, we'll put you to 2 pages. But stay within that kind of window, just because a human is reading your resume, right? If you had a 6-page resume in front of you, would you be able to take the time to read it? Yeah, probably not, right? So, so mirror margins, use a common font style. Don't go crazy with some, super, super tiny font or, Curls MT or something crazy looking. Stick to, Arial, Veranda, Georgia, Times New Roman. These are all good fonts. Don't go below 10 point. I actually just chatted with a client this morning who had a resume that was built for him that used 7-point font. So yes, please do not do tiny font. I know you want to fit it all. You want to fit it all on there. If someone can't read it, it's not going to matter, right? If someone looks at it and they're like, oh, no, I'm not looking at that, then you've just lost your audience, right? So we want to keep that in mind. Likewise, don't go above 14-point font in the body portion. That's just too big. And then you end up pushing your pages out. Always list dates, cover gaps when possible, right? If there was only, a month or 2 between when you were shifting roles, just line it up, right? Just line it up so that everything looks seamless. Only include a maximum of 15 years or approximately 4 positions. This just keeps your resume fresh. There are times where I work with senior level executives who are going for board positions, for example, who want every single role they've done through the 80s on there. That is the only time I will include all of that information, is if they are retired. They are going to be, going for board positions, because then it makes sense. But if you're trying to get a job, most recruiters won't go past, the past 10 to 15 years. That's what they're looking for. They want to see alignment there. Avoid listing too much personal information. We don't need to add our full addresses on a resume. Just Houston, Texas, right? That works. They just need to know where you're located so that they can figure out if you need to be relocated, basically. And also avoid online resume templates, please. They won't scan. They're annoying. I know they look really pretty, but they won't scan. So just avoid them. Key sections on a resume is pretty standard, but things change. So personal information, right? Your name, preferably keep your name the same between your resume and your LinkedIn, right? So if you have, Amanda Rico, PhD on the resume, that should be exactly the same on your LinkedIn. So you want people to be able to find you. That's the goal. And if you have multiple names all over the place, then it keeps people from being able to find you quickly. Right, so email, city, state, and then your LinkedIn hyperlink. This is something that pretty much all recruiters are requesting now. They want a LinkedIn hyperlink so they can check you out. You can also customize this. You can go into your privacy settings and remove that long string of numbers at the end so that that doesn't have to go on your resume. So take a few minutes and do that. An executive summary is next. You have your skills and technology, key achievements, professional experience, work history, and education. Right, so I like to use the top 4th portion of the resume to really draw attention to hard skills, right? I like to include a lot of data. I don't like to do a whole bunch of fluff at the beginning. I want to convince a recruiter that they need to read on, that you're the perfect fit for this. And then of course, optional at the bottom, we have awards, professional associations, publications, patents, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Right, so here's an example. Okay, this is what I mean by grabbing their attention. Okay, so senior landman, right? That's your target. This is the job you're applying for. If it says senior landman on the top, that should be the job description that you're applying for. You'll want to change this for each job. Okay, so just some core skills that you have: negotiation, business development, exploration. All right. multidisciplined senior landman and consultant offering 17 plus years experience, right? Exploring, acquiring, producing, developing, and maintaining operated and non-operated oil and gas properties in East Texas. Okay, so here we're clarifying exactly what your strengths are. Okay, so you're doing A to Z land management. Okay, operated and non-operated properties, primarily in East Texas. Region is important, guys. I don't know if you're seeing it, but a lot of job descriptions now are saying specifically 3+ years in the Permian, 5+ years in Eagle Ford, you know, so pick up on those things. Make sure you're including those in your resume. Don't just go super general, because those minimum job requirements matter. That's what's going to help you stand out. So expertise in cultivating business development opportunities, industry partners, right? So usually what I'll do, depending on what content the client has given me, there are times where I'll even go into more detail on the data, right? So maintaining 15+ operated and non-operated oil and gas properties in East Texas, you know, or in, you know, Permian and Haynesburg in East Texas, something like that, right? Haynesville. Right, team-oriented leader, exceptional communication skills, and extensive experience collaborating with geology, engineering, and senior management. Okay, so it shows again, you're good at working with teams at the base level. You can also, you know, chat with people at the C-suite. Okay, right. Key achievements. I always include these. It's really, really helpful, again, to just build in data as much as possible. Okay, so group reduction, all right, we have specifics in less than 10 years, expanded Brazos, you know, county property by for 6 drilled wells. Ignore the fact there's no period there. I've noticed this. I was looking again at my PowerPoint and noticed sometimes I have periods here and other places I don't. So sorry about that. Manage the wing prospect across 3 counties with 5,000 acres and 22 drilled wells. Right, so this is showing the scope of what you do. It's showing that you do XYZ well and better than other people, right? And that's what you want. You want to stand out in that way. Okay, ensured company contract compliance with a 0 lawsuit record spanning 15 years. Okay, so again, just, you know, impact. We want to really use these lines as something that kind of hits home, it's impactful, and it shows what you do tonight. Right, so items to include, you know, kind of brand yourself, right? Think of branding yourself, you know, provide an overview of key areas of relevant expertise, marketing summary of your unique value, right? That's what the executive summary helps to do. Listing keywords for positions and targets, that helps you get through those tracking systems. Bulleted sentences, short paragraph, bulleted lists. Please don't use block paragraphs, guys. If somebody sees this much text they have to read through, they're not going to read it. Okay, would you read it? No, I wouldn't read it either. And I like words, so don't do it. Okay, use bullet points. You can include key certifications or licenses. This is going to be pretty important for landmen. And then include computer proficiencies or any language proficiencies, depending on where you're applying. If you're applying abroad, make sure you mention the languages that you know. Okay. So career changing. Okay, so this is the world we're in now. I don't like it, but here we are. Okay, so career changing. So for a landman or a land professional, whatever level you're at, a lot of people are shifting to sales. Okay, technical sales, like I said, real estate, some finance, you know, contract management, things like that. So I wanted to use a sales example because this is a really good way to highlight, you know, again, kind of what you do really well. And this is what the top 4th portion of a career change resume might look like, how I might build it out. Okay, so again, you know, I like the branding, right? Passionate about providing critical sales and leasing support tailored to customer needs. Okay, so we're just building in some really good keywords. And for the most part, we are making sure that we are highlighting branding, you as a sales professional, even though more than likely you don't have that much sales experience, right? So the trick with career changing is convincing someone that you are already good at something, even if you have barely ever done it. Okay, so that's what the resume should do. It should convince someone from the outset, from the entire presentation, that you are already good at this. Okay, so solutions-oriented, persuasive sales professional. 15+ years of experience identifying multi-billion-dollar opportunities due to a keen understanding of current and future business needs. Okay, now this is very true for a land professional. Okay, you guys have really good, business sense. So, adept at positioning enterprises to successfully expand market share footprint while creating unprecedented value for customers, companies, and key stakeholders. Proven track record of hiring and coaching 50+ person teams. Okay, again, sales teams, everybody, it's all team-based, right? Sales is very, very team-based. So picking up on that and highlighting what you do, how you do it, is, again, very important. Proven results in sales leadership. Okay, persuaded a seller to agree to a $93 million offer on a $120 million valuation. Okay, so again, land professionals do this, right? You guys are good at persuading. You're really good at contract management, negotiation, and all of this is really translatable to sales. So, boosted market share position, achieved a company lease record. Again, we have a lot of movement. Even the style has movement, right? So it's kind of leading you down the page with the bolding. Okay. Right, so LinkedIn best practices. Let's shift to LinkedIn, right? We've looked at some resumes. Now let's talk about the other part. So writing a complete LinkedIn profile, it's critical. You guys, you got to do it. If you're not on LinkedIn, if you're not active, if your profile is blank, shame on you. Shame on you. Don't do that anymore, okay? You have to take the time. Your first step should be to create what LinkedIn calls an all-star profile. Okay, and you do this. LinkedIn actually guides you. It will ask you questions. It will say, hey, do you want to add your location? That'll help us find you. Hey, would you like to add an about summary section? Stop ignoring LinkedIn. Do what LinkedIn asks of you, okay? Take an extra 15 minutes and do what it's asking, because that's going to help you come up in recruiter searches. If you have no content, you will never get found, guys. There are millions of people on LinkedIn now. You have to build out content. Okay, so again, giving readers some visual interest, break up content with bullet points, no block paragraphs. Okay, if you have block paragraphs, go through, hit the space bar, hit the enter key. Okay, create some visual space. Call attention to data and proven accomplishments. Again, just like we do in the resume, use your resume as the blueprint. This is honestly why I build out the top fourth portion of the resume like I do, because I can take certain portions of that executive summary and then the data I have in the key achievements and use that in your about and summary section, right? Just cannibalize all your content. Pull it from different places, because recruiters and HR managers are already going to be looking for alignment. Okay, and then inject some personality. Don't be afraid to, have a personality on there. It doesn't just need to be, I do this well and I excel at this and that. It's, however you want to come across, use some personality. Okay. Right, so how to earn all-star status. So adding your industry and location, adding dates to your work experience. Dates are super important, guys. They need to line up across your LinkedIn and your resume. If they're off, a recruiter may not be able to put you forward to a hiring manager. Have to double check those. Make sure that those align. Upload a profile photo, please. Preferably one with you smiling in color, right? Don't try to look too artsy. Just, if you walked into an interview, how would you want the interviewer to see you? That's the profile photo you want, right? You can have on a little blazer, a nice shirt, right? Take off your hat, take off your sunglasses, get your family out of the picture, just you smiling. That's it, right? Add your most recent position and job description, employment dates, education section. You want to include all of it, These are all going to be key terms that a recruiter will use to find you. Okay, at least key skills, preferably you want to max it out at the full 50. Okay, add a summary and about section. I see so many people neglect this. This is a huge place to add in key terms. Okay, and then connect with at least 50 other professionals and stay engaged. Please, guys, stay engaged. Don't treat it like it's Facebook. This is not social media. Okay, LinkedIn is a job search tool. It's a networking tool. Okay. Right, so provide a snapshot. This is what I mean by, kind of injecting a little personality. Hello, I'm John. My specialty is cultivating business development opportunities, industry partners to ensure long-term company sustainability. Simple. This is what you do best. And that is literally the first line that's going to pop up when somebody looks at your profile. They're going to see that. They'll have to open up the rest to see it, but I like to have just one very brief, direct sentence about what you do best. Okay, and then again, 17 plus years of experience. I've had the opportunity to wear multiple hats, providing exceptional value to the companies and clients I serve. Right, so again, personally, now you're showing cultural fit for the company, so they can see you as an all-around good professional, right? They're going to want to hire you because they see that you're service-oriented. Okay. Boop. Providing a snapshot. Okay, so this is more of a drilling engineer focused one, but I wanted to use this example because it's very direct, it's very clear. Okay, so highlighting the top competencies that you have and then showing achievements. This can be another great way to just call attention to what you do best in your about and summary section. Cost controls, QSHE safety, operations optimization. And then you have your achievements in there. Very direct, very easy to process, easy to follow. Okay, and all this just supports why you're the right fit for whatever position you're applying for. Right, so some key takeaways. Okay, I know that we're going to be chatting about networking and stuff like that here just in a moment as we switch. But, target your resume on LinkedIn as closely as possible to job descriptions, guys. Use those job descriptions like a blueprint. These jobs don't exist in a vacuum. Okay, somebody wrote them. So by writing them, they are literally telling you what they want. So look at them, listen to them, use them shamelessly, okay? Make a recruiter's job easy. Provide separate sections that highlight your strengths and your proven results. Okay, again, data. Always be prepared to answer questions about employment gaps. If you've got them, you got to have an answer ready. Because recruiters are notorious about not liking job hoppers. Okay, so be very, very careful. Or why you want to leave oil and gas if you're career changing. That's a big one to answer. Aim for a clean, concise resume on LinkedIn, not too jumbled, not block paragraphs. Again, would someone be able to come in and easily read this information? Always upload a resume in a doc or docx for a job application. It's going to be able to pick up more keywords. Avoid a PDF unless they require it. I think the only company I've seen so far that's required it is Shell. So if they do require a PDF, then of course follow the instructions. And research, reach out, and repeat. This is like my mantra to everyone. Repeat this to yourself. Research, reach out, and repeat. You have to start with research. Okay, you have to research people first. Then you reach out, and then you repeat that process. Okay, don't just reach out and repeat. Okay, I want to emphasize that. I see so many people who just reach out. We're just like, hey, here's my resume. Could you let me know if you see any jobs that pop up? Do not do this, guys. People will not respond to you. They will see you as a burden. They will see you as being unprofessional. Okay, not this. You have to reach out in meaningful ways to people if you want their assistance. Okay, so that's all for me. And we can, yep, thank you. Yes, and those are my contact details. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn or reach out. Yeah, so now we can shift over to the next.
Thank you, Amanda. Did we want to answer a couple of questions that came in?
Let's see.
I saw a few that were resume related. I thought it'd be a good time to do it.
Sure. Let's see, let me take a look. Okay, so Sherry, oh, hi Sherry. I know her, I know her. Does professional experience include jobs that are not relevant to the job you're searching for? Yeah, so generally what I'll try to do with this, if someone is career changing, is do my best to align what you've done with what you're shooting for. So we're not going to lie about what you've done, but what I will do is put down your job title. If it's something very, very specific and industry related, like for instance, if it's, you know, a wireline operations manager, I'll remove wireline. Okay, nobody knows what wireline is outside of oil and gas. We're not lying. We're still an operations manager, but we're shifting that term out because it doesn't make sense to people. So, for instance, if you're wanting to switch, say you have been an operations manager and you're wanting to get into sales. Okay, so I would put operations manager, and in parentheses or the dash, I would say, 20 million secured in sales or in sales revenue or something like that, right? So just make it very direct and obvious that some of the things that you did within your role align with sales, okay? Because what's tricky is that recruiters sometimes will scan so quickly that they only look at the job titles. And if they only see operations manager and you're shooting for sales, they're going to think, that's not the right fit. So you want to convince them from the outset and like make it very clear that you had sales related responsibilities. If that makes sense. Yeah, job hopping. Some industries it is normal. And for instance, like at Schlumberger, it's not job hopping, but at Schlumberger, people will get promoted or moved to different divisions every year sometimes. They'll be in Paris one year and Azerbaijan the next year. You never know where they're going to be. So it's just important to bear in mind that you clarify as much as possible if you're going to different, positions with different companies, why you were leaving, or, this is generally done best in a cover letter, to kind of explain your career trajectory and to show how that's actually an asset. You always want to highlight why that's an asset, okay? Because you have a diversity of experience. You're not a job hopper. You have been able to gain a whole bunch of different transferable skills that have now made you the perfect fit for the position you're applying for now, right? Okay. Oh, nervous about reaching out. Yeah, everyone is. Nobody likes reaching out. Okay. We'll just clarify that. I have hated it. Coming from an academic background, I never thought I needed to network. I fought it over and over. My husband, who's a senior drilling engineer, kept telling me I had to do it. And eventually it just wore me down. So I do want to say that this is probably not going to be the funnest thing you do. Okay, but it's so necessary to do it. And even if you're nervous, start slowly. Okay, so rather than thinking, okay, I need to spend an hour today on LinkedIn and try to find people, set aside 15 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes every day, every other day to, research people, reach out to 3 new people in a week. Okay, set small goals that help you to not obsess or focus on how scary it is to reach out, and instead help you to kind of process that and reach out in meaningful ways, because you're setting aside that time and saying, okay, I can do this. I can reach out to 3 people. Maybe I can't reach out to 20. Maybe that scares me, but 3 is fine, right? So start setting those goals for yourself and just reach out in really, really small ways. You don't need to write a novel when you reach out to someone. Just say, hey, I saw that we were both at X company or both volunteered at X location. I hope you're doing well during this downturn. Best, Amanda. Literally, that will get you more responses than reaching out and trying to start a conversation. I have people reach out, back to me, even though they know I'm selling something, right? I mean, they know, like I own a
Mhm.
business. People will still respond to those types of messages and be like, "Oh, thank you so much, Amanda. You know, hope you're doing well too." And that's the start of a conversation, right? That's how you are able to start those conversations and not feel so scared or bogged down or feel like what I'm going to say. Just be a human, right? Just kind of reach out. Okay. Maybe I can do one more and then because I don't want to take
One
up
more.
yeah, much time from you guys. Um, so Pedro Ramirez is asking about injecting personality. Yeah, so in the wordings and your about section or also the way you post and comment. So both, because LinkedIn is interactive. It's fixed in your contents on your profile, but it's interactive in the way that you can engage with other people. Okay, so absolutely, you know, having a personality whenever you engage with people is what's going to set you apart. Okay, it's what's going to have people remember you, notice you, and actually reach out to you whenever job offers come up. And I think Tracy, I think you have a good example of
I
this too.
do. I do, and this is a great segue into it. As we're talking about LinkedIn and reaching out to people, I can directly link the job I have today back to a day in 2014 when I was on LinkedIn. I was in one of the groups I have listed here, just chatting, answering questions with people. And I remember it was something about title, something complicated, but I wasn't there to look for a job, although I was in the job market at that time. So the next thing I know, I get a message from this man I did not know, who ended up being the founder and owner of iLandman software. I don't want to go into the whole story, but let's just say 24 hours later, I was their first project manager because he liked the way that I answered people's questions. And he liked what he saw on my resume and well, on my LinkedIn profile because it was diverse. Now, I had never at that time trained anyone. I'd never even seen iLandman. Now I'm the senior operations manager here, and I do help out with training. And I've spent the last, gosh, how many years is that? 7? Yeah, 7 years managing very large oil and gas assets in this software. So don't discount just basically hanging out on LinkedIn and just networking because you don't know who's watching you. So that's my anecdote.
Exactly.
So anyway, we just wanted to, Billy and I and Amanda, talk about virtual networking in 2021. As a landman, I know that we're used to going to our monthly AAPL meetings or getting together after work, different things, and we can't do that right now, hopefully soon. So what do? You're going to have to go virtual. And LinkedIn is probably the best place to do it. 2 of the groups that I really like on LinkedIn, and once you fill out your profile, you can start looking at the different groups. Land professionals of the oil and gas industry, and also land management professionals. You can do some really, really good networking there. Billy, Amanda, is there anything else with the groups, or is there anything that you could add to that?
I mean, I'm not in the industry in land, so you guys would probably know those a little bit better. Yeah. I'm kind of more on the hashtag kind of side.
When you follow the different groups, it will pop up in your feed. And so you can follow things that other people are posting, things that are issues. And like I said, with my situation, I joined in the conversation. So make sure and comment. You can like it. And the more you do, the more your name is out there in front of people. That's what networking is all about. It's just getting your name out there, your face out there, to where when there is a situation, they can say, oh, wait, I remember her, Tracy Mizell, the one who wouldn't shut up, who was really good at talking to people. I remember her.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and
So
remember that whenever you like or comment on people's posts, that goes to the people who follow you or who are your connections, so they can see what you liked or what you commented on. So that's kind of how the algorithm works, is that, so I say that also to say, be careful
Yes,
of
be
what
really
you
careful.
click on, what you like, what you comment on, and how you approach your comment or your engagement in general. Just, be
Right.
mindful that other people will see it. It's going to pop up on their feed. So,
And you can look at people. We just had a question about how can you tell if it's spam or if it's a legitimate person.
mhm.
You can look at them really and tell, see who their contacts are. If you don't have any of the same industry contacts and they're telling you that they are a senior vice president of a big oil company, I don't think they are, especially if you're in the industry. Personally, I get job offers constantly from Russian oil traders.
Yep.
No, I just say thank you and block.
Right.
But just be aware and be careful. Use your common sense. Definitely
Right.
common sense.
Yeah, and Tracy, I think another good area of LinkedIn is back to what Amanda said is the research side, is that we are in contact with all of our customers and have a good vibe on the industry, and there still is a lot of, I say a lot comparatively, right, of positions being filled today, and the positions that aren't making it to job boards or postings, it's where somebody has a challenge that they're trying to overcome, and through LinkedIn, through connections, through networking, they get connected with somebody who's resolved those challenges someplace else, and they reach out to them, similar to your story, right? It says, we have this challenge, you have experience solving this, can you come help us out? And so
Right.
those we hear and we see a lot of those, and networking with us, networking with your software providers is another good one, because a lot of companies will reach out to us and say, hey, we're looking for XYZ position with experience around this. Do you know anybody? Do you have somebody in mind? And
Right.
so, and those usually get filled before they, like I said, before they even hit a job board.
Yep.
And so, and I can't stress it enough, is leverage those LinkedIn contacts, get to know people, show people that you're not just out there, your name is not just out there, but you're actually interacting. I think that's important, because that will also kind of get the recruiters or get whoever's looking attention faster to see that you're actually contributing to LinkedIn and contributing to the groups, and not just a follower.
Yeah, the more that you can show that you're a thought leader,
Yes.
and
Yes.
basically volunteer, either volunteer to speak at certain things or to organize things, which, students are already used to doing this kind of stuff, but I think that as we get more entrenched in kind of the industries that we work in, we start to lose a lot of that, kind of drive, or we can, lose that kind of drive to take the initiative to step up to do leadership positions, or to, want to speak, or things like that. But this is really how you get noticed. This is how, because people will be like, oh, well, I saw you on, this or I heard you on this podcast, or,
Yes.
that is, the more feelers, the more tentacles, it's kind of a creepy word to use, but the more tentacles that you can put out into the industry, the more chance you have of getting found and of somebody reaching out with the right type of opportunity. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, people are fielding these, I have recruiters reach out to me all the time, asking me, hey, I have this thing, I don't want to post it online because I'm going to get 800 applicants in 30 minutes.
Right.
But do
Same.
you know of anyone?
Yes.
So, so being that middle person, or being in the know, trying to make those connections through organizations, that's really where you leverage
That
up.
is good. And you can follow the recruiting companies. There are many. We just have 2 listed here, but there's a lot of them on LinkedIn, and follow all of them.
Yes. Also follow, I think we don't have him here, but Michael Oliva.
Okay.
Oliva. He hires specifically in oil and gas, and he's always posting new job listings. So yeah, find those people.
Right.
And I think it's good too to gather up and try to research as much information as you can to see what the activity is going on in the space,
Mhm.
who's buying what, who's selling what, and try to get an understanding of where they're selling it to. Because that's a great lead in for you to reach out to somebody is, hey, I just noticed you made a huge acquisition in the Permian. Guess what? I have 17 plus years in the Permian. I've done this. You're probably going to run across this challenge. Here's how I've handled it in the past. And so, please reach out to me if you have any questions or jobs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
So
Yeah.
be proactive like that, because I think Amanda's exactly right. I think people are a little hesitant now to post a lot of stuff on job boards because you get flooded with resumes, and the worry there is you miss the good one because you're looking through a stack of 800, so it's really hard to.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
please.
And expect rejection, guys. Expect rejection, expect ghosting, expect people to not get back to you. Reach out, keep reaching out. Okay, just keep hustling. Find their email. Don't just stop at trying to message them on LinkedIn. A lot of people don't check their message. So, take the initiative. I have people ask me all the time, well, how do I do it? You gotta research.
Yes.
You gotta heavily research the people. Don't stop at, oh, well, I sent them a message 2 weeks ago on LinkedIn. Nope. You're not pushing hard enough. You gotta keep going, right? Keep hustling. Find their email. Stay professional. Don't message them on Facebook or try to call them. But just hustle, right? Keep
Right.
pushing. So
Yeah, you're developing a relationship is what you're doing.
right.
And that's very important. So you mentioned Facebook. We put it on here because a lot of companies do have Facebook pages. And on the Facebook accounts is more where they post what they have a company has been doing, a lot of HR, community service type things. So I would suggest maybe find the companies you think you may want to work for and follow them. You can maybe find out more about them that way. And then if all else fails, which it won't, but have your own meeting. So instead of having that APL happy hour or meeting once a month, gather some of your friends, some people you've worked with or for in the past, and put together a Zoom meeting. And everybody once a week, every 2 weeks, get on a Zoom call together where you can see each other's face and talk about what you're seeing and hearing, any problems you have in your job search, or if maybe you've heard of something that's not good for you because you don't live in Oklahoma City, but you know someone who does, and you can pass that on. So like I said, it's building relationships. That's all networking is.
Absolutely.
Building relationships.
Right. And I think having a kind of a little mantra, I know this helped me out whenever I was trying to transition out of academia, because I just kept feeling so defeated. I'd go to different, networking events and talk to people. I got along fine with people, but it'd come to the end of the night and I'd ask my husband, I'm like, so how do you think I did? He's like, you used so many words no one understands, Amanda. Like,
oh no.
You can't use the word hegemonic in a conversation. You can't do it. You are not, you are not around your academic friends. So having someone who's very honest with you to help you out, but having a little bit of a mantra. Like I started just repeating to myself over almost like,
yeah, keep it small words.
Yeah, well, but also just saying I'm doing the best I can. Right? Doing the best I can. That's all I can do. Right. And then you push it aside and you move on and say, okay, well, to the next, because
Right. And if you are in a networking situation and maybe you're someone who is shy or is uncomfortable, go with your friend who's not. Find your friend who doesn't stop talking and who has no problem walking up to a group and just starting to chat. And that will help you then to learn more of how to do that.
Right.
So while you're networking, what do? You can't sit there all day, right? Sending out resumes. So I suggest learn new things. Look at your resume. Think about the jobs that you've had. Where did you feel like you maybe needed to fill in a gap? I've got two places listed here. You've probably heard of both of these people, Terrell Williams and Alice Hogue. And they each teach certification programs for land, and I highly recommend both of them. We have the websites here for you. And I know personally that Terrell has several certification programs. I have the PLM certification that I got through Terrell, and I actually worked for him several years teaching seminars because I was that girl who wouldn't shut up. And so I did get to experience on that side too. And there's some great seminars that he does, and he does a fantastic job doing it virtually. All right, next page. Thanks, Adam. Another place to find seminars and webinars right now are through the professional organizations. AAPL, if you are not a member, you need to join. NALTA, if you're not a member, you need to join. NADOA, we've got that on the next page, you'll see in a minute. You need to join if that covers your wheelhouse. They all have fantastic certification programs, wonderful classes, and now instead of the monthly meetings, a lot of the local groups, like Houston, Austin, Dallas, especially for NALTA and NADOA, they're doing webinars during lunch. Unfortunately, sometimes it's on the same day, so you have to pick which one to go to. But they've all been fantastic, and I highly, highly recommend that. Get on their mailing list, and they'll let you know. But they also on LinkedIn. They have been advertising them on LinkedIn as well. All right, next Adam. So there's NADOA for a division order analyst, but it's not just for division order analyst. They have some great seminars. In fact, their annual conference is my favorite because there is such a variety, and it's a little more technical, which is probably why I like it. So what about things outside of land, outside of oil and gas? Why don't you take this time, learn Office 365? We're going that way. We're going virtual. And I pushed against it, and now I do like it. I do. I miss being face-to-face with people, but I like that we can use Office 365, which includes Teams, SharePoint, and all these other things, to work as a team. And that's how I like to run my department, is as a team. Everyone brings something to the table. So by using these tools, we're able to all work as a team. You can find seminars online. Microsoft puts out things. YouTube is a fantastic source. You can learn anything.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to learn how to do anything on Excel, go to YouTube. They'll show you. Also, project management. That's a big buzzword, has been for the last few years. The Project Management Institute has several programs where you can get certified in project management. So think about where you want to go, what you want to do, and what holes you need to fill in. And then work on filling it in. In the meanwhile, keep networking and stay on LinkedIn and stay in touch with everyone in your industry that you've worked with before.
Yeah, absolutely, Tracy. I really like
Mhm.
your the simplicity of your approach, because this is really, I think, where people get stuck is they say, well, I don't really know where I want to go, what I want to do.
Mhm.
You got to pick a target. You have to.
You do. You have to look in the mirror and say, what am I lacking?
Yep.
What do I need to learn some more? And rip that Band-Aid off and do it. And
Grab the
learn it.
Band-Aid. Yep.
Mhm. You'll
Yeah,
be glad you did.
I think that goes hand in hand too with, is when you're trying to figure out what do you want to learn or what do you need to learn and what gap,
Mhm.
is one thing easy to do is just look back over your career and find those items where you had to go out and ask somebody, you had to reach out to a consultant, you had to reach out to some sort of
A coworker.
social project. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, to
Mhm.
come in and help you through a project that you have or a challenge that you had, and figure out why did we have to go outside to get this expertise, and what expertise did
Right.
they have that I didn't have, and figure out, does that something that's worthwhile for me to learn? And then also, especially from land, is look outside of just a traditional land upstream oil and gas type roles. There are all kinds of oil and gas land specific or land related support type roles, whether it's in the consulting side of the world, the
Mhm.
services side of the world, the software side of the world,
Yes.
like Tracy, right?
Mhm.
That need oil and gas specific land experience. And so your job, the job availability might not just be with traditional upstream oil and gas companies, but it could be, even midstream right now. Midstream is big. We're
Yes.
getting hit up
Don't
by
forget
midstream.
about midstream.
Don't forget
Right.
about midstream. And especially with the cold weather snap we have, we realize we have a tough time
Mhm.
with the midstream anyways, right? So
Yep.
getting the product to where we need it. And then also, I think Amanda may have hit on it. She's definitely hit on it in our conversations is, um, the other side of the world, which is the alternative energy side of the world and renewables,
Renewables.
especially land in the renewable space is as close to land in the upstream oil and gas space as you can get.
Right.
They're doing the exact same thing, negotiating the exact same type of contracts, and usually with the exact same people. So, so please look at that. That is taking off. It is getting big, whether we want it to or we like it or not. It's happening, and they need our help. And I think that is an area where definitely land professionals can assist. Is in that side of the business as well.
And with that, midstream and the clean energy sector, regulations, due diligence, compliance, all those things are huge. Those are extremely significant. There are times when, my husband shifted from upstream to midstream, where I'd tell him in the upstream side, I'd be like, man, you guys are just cowboying it, aren't you? It's just like, yeah, all right, yeah, I'll ask the TRCC, I'll ask the Texas Railroad Commission. Yeah, they'll approve it. It's okay. And then you get to midstream and clean energy, and it's like, no, it will be approved months in advance. There's tons of paperwork, contracts, negotiations, a lot of due diligence that needs to be done. And that's a great opportunity for land professionals to step in because, yeah, the federal, local, state, federal, regulations are something that you guys excel at. So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think we've come to the end of our hour. If we can check real quick and see if there were any other questions.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Pedro.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thank you, Amanda.
Right.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you,
Sure.
Amanda. That was very good. And thank you, Billy.
Yeah, thank you guys. No,
Yeah.
it's great. Honestly, I didn't know that there were energy solutions for land professionals. So it's really awesome. I'm really, really glad you guys reached out. And, this showed me a different side also of, kind of the land management side. So I'll be pushing people over to this side now as well, instead of just thinking of them as, going into some of the more traditional routes. So.
Absolutely. And, feel free to network with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you to our presenters and all that attended today's webinar. This now concludes the session.